Okay, that was a really short chapter, so I'm going to read chapter 22, Slicing and Dicing. Suddenly had finally come, and my mom and I got to La Cocina really early to start prepping for Abuela's big memorial later that night. The other cooks and chefs, including Martin, were scheduled to come in a little later, so my mom and I were at the restaurant alone. Ready? My mom asked. It was weird that the restaurant was totally empty, because someone was always in there. My mom hit the code for the alarm, and I flipped the lights on in the kitchen. The gas stoves flared up. My mom brought out the kitchen knives and placed the assorted ingredients on the prep station. We are going to cook all of Abuela's best dishes, she said, sharpening her knife and motioning for me to grab an apron. I gulped. My mom handed me an onion, a pepper, some plantains, cilantros, carrots, shallots, and something that looked like an onion. That's chayote, Arturo. We're going to saute it, but you need to julienne it first. Do the same thing with the carrots and make sure to wash the onion with cold water before you cube it. Then go into the walk-in and pull out the veal stock. It needs to get to room temperature to make the broth for the oxtail. My head spun. Chef Mom continued. Don't cut the platanos, but do peel the boniato and put them in the pot over there. It will be boiling, so don't throw them in. The last thing I need is for you to burn yourself. The oxtail is in the walk-in. Bring it to me when you're done. I stared. "'Kay," she snapped. What is julienne again? Julienne, Arturo, julienne. It's sliced long ways and thin, like this. She shredded the little orange stick monsters into pieces with her furious chopping. If my mom wasn't a chef, she could have been a samurai. She grabbed a tray full of little chickens and started hacking them in half with a butcher knife that was so big it looked like it belonged to Conan the Barbarian. We're going to make guinea hens, my mom said, cracking them in half in one stroke. She could have easily taken out an army of chickens if they ever attacked her. I stared at the different colored vegetables in front of me. I had already forgotten what I needed to do. Arturo, are you cutting the vegetables? Yes, I said, because a 5'5" lady with a butcher knife the size of her forearm was very intimidating. My mom moved frantically around the kitchen, prepping and chopping and smelling the cazuelas starting to bubble on the burners. It was impressive. Abuela and I used to cook together, but her pace was much slower, at least with me. From the time I was 6, I stayed with her on Saturday nights while my parents went out, and together we prepped for Sunday family dinner. She would chop vegetables and I would peel potatoes. Together we made soups and sauces and all kinds of cool stuff. Every Saturday night, her apartment filled with the heavenly smells of saffron, yerba buena, cilantro, and perejil. That was our tradition until she got sick and my mom took over the dinner. She preferred to handle everything herself. I started chopping and peeling and julienning, and then I realized I was crying, and my eyes were burning and they wouldn't stop. I rubbed them and they stung more and my nose started dripping. Before I could reach for a towel, my mom wiped my face with a warm cloth. Mom, my eyes are burning. I splashed cold water on my face and wiped myself with a towel. I tried to refocus when I saw my mom crouched over the sink next to me. Mom, you okay? I regained my vision and saw that she was letting water from the faucet slowly run through her fingers. Her head was bowed like she wanted to put it under the faucet as well. Mom? She looked up, revealing red and puffy eyes. Did the onion get to you too? I asked. She let out a laugh that sounded more like an exhalation, and her lower lip started to shake. It wasn't an onion. My mom was crying. I handed her the towel, and she dipped it in the running water and ran it over her face. Gracias, mi amor, she said as she hung the towel over her shoulder. It's been so hard. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have to worry about this. Come on, let's finish, okay? My mom put both hands on her face and stretched her cheeks. It was the first time I'd ever seen her like that. She went over to the lobster stock and poured it through a sieve to sift the chunky bits out and pour only liquid into the pot. Then we placed it in another pot and put it back on the burner. I turned the knob, and the flame sparked before calming. The pot steamed slightly. My mom asked me to grab the fish and clams and mussels out of the walk-in to make seafood paella. I looked up to see the vent twirling. It sent out freezing air, and if I reached my hand up, I could feel my hands turn icy. How awesome would it be if I had the power to turn things into ice? I could have frozen the stupid disease that had slowly messed up Abuela's young lungs. I could have frozen my mom's tears. I stepped out of the walk-in carrying the tub of seafood and then slapped the tub onto the metal table. My mom hunched over the lobster stock, and I saw a locket dangle from her neck. The shiny little cross and oval-shaped pendant swayed as if a tiny wind blew them together. My mom smelled the stock, and I listened to the silver cross lightly chime with the pendant. It was Abuela's. Chapter 23 is called Cooking from Memory.